just start it. Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, everyone, for joining. I can see you, Peter and Stephen and Polly. So we're going to just give it like a minute until everyone joins this session. Okay, yeah, so let's give it just one more minute until we have a few more people joining us, and then we can start off with a round of introductions. Okay, so I think we can start off with an introduction just for us to get to know who is in the room as we wait for more people to join us. So I'll start with myself. For those of us who've not met, my name is Mercy Karumba. I'm the Senior Associate Community at Joseph. I support with community growth, community engagement, and community mapping. And this call is just for organizations interested in signing up for the Good Start Challenge. We are happy to have Logedi in the call with us today. We'll be getting us on how to go about that. And if you have any questions regarding the challenge, the application, and anything else, this call is for you to do that. So feel free to unmute yourself, use the chat or use the reaction button at any time. So what we'll start, I'll allow Douglas to introduce himself, and then we can have a round of introduction for everyone in the room, just for him to know who is joining us. Let us know your name, your organization, and where you're joining us from. Douglas.
Great. Thanks so much. Good afternoon, everybody. I hope it's afternoon for everybody. For some people, it might be morning or evening. My name is Douglas Logedi Luhangala. I am based in Nairobi, Kenya. I'm Kenyan. I work for an organization called Challenge Works. So what Challenge Works does is we run innovation challenges on behalf of other organizations. If an organization is interested in collecting ideas about a particular space or understanding what goes on in that space, they talk to us and we run that challenge for them. At the moment, we are running what we call the Good Start Challenge, which is running in 9 countries. I'll tell you a bit more about it when we come to the meat of it. I'm the regional coordinator in charge of East Africa. So I handle everything for the entire region of East Africa. And hopefully we'll get to know more about what that entails in a few.
Lovely. Thank you so much, Douglas. So I think we'll have a round of introductions. And the best way to do this might be, I'll tag you your name, and then you can call someone else within the call or someone who's next to you on the screen, just for them to introduce themselves, for us to know who's here, and for also Douglas to take note of who is in the room. So Peter, I think you can introduce yourself. Peter?
Thank you, Mercy. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening from wherever you are. I'm Peter Shikuku, CEO, Lake Region Development Program. I'm joining from Homa Bay. Next, I would call Carlson.
Hello, and good afternoon. By names, I am Carlston Okoth Odondi. I work for Lake Region Development Program. Thank you. Let me call on Stephen.
Stephen, we can't hear you. Okay, I think Polly can go next.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Polly Mugeni. I work for Lake Region as M&E. I'll welcome also Rukia.
Hi all, my name is Lucia Sebit from Sunflower Trust, and I'm joining the call from Nairobi. I welcome Edwin.
Edwin?
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Edwin Sangani from Lake Region Development Program. Thank you.
Thank you, Edwin.
I welcome.
Hi, everyone. My name is Karongari. I'm joining from Nairobi. I work with Tiny Totos. We're a social enterprise that partners with informal daycare operators and turns them into profitable entrepreneurs. I welcome Priyanka.
Thanks, Karungari. Hi, everyone. I'm Priyanka Handa, based in Botswana. I run an organization called Learn to Play, and we work with mothers and children in rural and informal settings, helping them set up early childhood programs. I'm not sure who hasn't been introduced because I joined a bit late, but Frederick, maybe I welcome Frederick.
Good afternoon. I'm Frederick Ochieng, working for Lake Region Development Program.
Thank you, Frederick. Simon?
Yes, thank you so much, Mercy. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever one is. My name is Simon Wamu, CEO, Education Empowerment for Rural and Urban Slums Initiative. Happy to be here. Thank you. And I'll pick on Rukia's bit.
Rukia has gone already. Thank you. Charles, maybe you think you can be the last one, and then Douglas gets it. I think Charles is struggling. Okay. Douglas, I think you can take over the forum.
Amazing. Thank you very much for your kind introductions. Glad everyone is here. I'm glad there's so many people from the Lake Basin Development, Lake Region Basin Development. What is it called? I think that's how it's called. It will be a shame when all the members of that block realize that I'm confusing or rather struggling to say how they are characterized, yet I am from there. So
I can come in. It's Lake Region Development Program.
Yeah, Lake Region Development Program. And I receive your newsletter every other time. So I think I deserve some punishment for that. But thank you very much, all of you, for joining. I'm really excited for us to have this conversation. Mercy, you'll be managing the chat. If there's any questions that you need me to stop and answer, that would be fantastic. But I'll just crack through. And then between my presentation, at different times, I will stop and welcome questions so that it's as interactive as possible. And then as well, during that, feel free to raise your hand or type your question in the chat. We will get back to it at some point. I'm hoping that this will take about an hour 20 minutes. And what I will take you through is what I'm just about to share on the screen now. I'll take you through what the challenge is all about. I will take you through who is eligible to enter or what constitutes eligibility for you to participate in the challenge. I'll take you through what's on offer in terms of the prizes that you can win and so on. I will also help you understand how we'll be judging those entries that will be coming through, because many times people submit things without knowing how they'll be evaluated. So I'll try and make sure that I have helped you to understand how we'll evaluate you. And then I'll help you to know how to enter. And while doing that, I'll take you through the entry form. For those that are looking to enter, I will let you know how you can best make an entry so that you have the best chance possible at advancing. I'll also give you some data in terms of how many people have entered so far and what everything is looking so far as well. So let's crack into it quite quickly. And if at any time you're not seeing my slides or they are not moving, just let me know. So the Booster Challenge, as I said, is an innovative challenge where you are looking for solutions that benefit the well-being of parents and caregivers across 9 countries. We're saying it's a global challenge, but really it's a 9-country challenge. 3 in South America, that is Brazil, Mexico, and Colombia. 2 in Southeast Asia, that is the Philippines and Indonesia. And 1 in West Africa, Senegal, and 3 in East Africa, Ethiopia, Uganda, and Kenya. I am the regional manager in charge of Ethiopia, Uganda, and Kenya. And I'm glad to say that this is where most entries have come from so far, and where most quality entries we hope will come from as well. Just quickly, why we are looking at parental well-being is because some of you work in the ECP space, and there are many. I wonder whether somebody is doing a controlled explosion somewhere. There are very many solutions that try to support children when they are growing up. But one thing that we forget is that there's a parent behind every child. And so this challenge is just to turn the tables a little bit and shine a light on the parents so that they can be able to offer as much a good environment for their children as possible. I've already told you about this, where the challenge is taking place, and you can just see it on the map. It's what we used to call the Global South. But we are trying to run away from the word Global South as much as possible, because somebody asked south of what or north of what. But we have selected a few countries in what used to be the Global South so that we can run the challenge there. And then if it is successful, next year onwards, we'll run it in all the countries in this region. The regional focus, as I said, we have Latin America, where we are looking at traditional indigenous communities mostly. Sub-Saharan Africa, where we're looking at communities impacted or at risk of forced movement. I will define what the word forced movement means, because then we left it like that, and somebody said, are you only doing this for refugees? And the answer is no, but I'll define what the word forced movement means. And then in Southeast Asia, because of just the type of ecosystem they have, we are looking at mostly disaster-prone people in rural communities. Forced movement in our context means people that are at risk of moving away from the habitats that they should be living in. For example, teen parents are at risk of being sent away from their homes in many African families. people living in extreme poverty are at risk of having to be forced to move from either the rural areas to the cities or vice versa, or even move into sheltered spaces to seek help. We are looking at people that are affected by urban development and displacement. We know about the demolitions that sometimes happens when urban areas are expanding. We are looking at people that are refugees or internally displaced people as a result of food, natural disasters, conflict, and so on. So really, it's many mothers that, or many parents rather, that are in our African context, but we are just trying to look at not only the rich parents, but these that are in situations that could force them to move from their habitats. Who are they? Why challenge prize? Is because we think if we just ask people to submit ideas that are innovative, that are supporting parental well-being, few people would. But if there is a reward behind it, then more people take part and we can be able to get more ideas. Then everyone is winning, because then you are giving us your ideas and we are giving you support and we are giving you financial reward if you win, and so on. So that at the end of it all, everyone gets something at the end of it. And that's the idea of a challenge prize. And that's why Good Start came as a challenge and not just a call for proposals like the other calls for proposals. There are several important dates that you should take note of, but the most important one at this point in time is 17th September, which is 17th next month, which is about 37 days from today. That's when the entries officially close. We launched it on 22nd May, and we've been doing outreach, and we've been trying to talk to different organizations. Glad that we are talking to you. There are some of you here, as I was telling Mercy, I've been trying to reach out to you for a very long time. Probably I just had the wrong contacts, but some of you have been on my radar for some time now. And then when the entries close in September, we will have a judging period between September and December. And in December, we hope we announce the winners. And then, though not exactly the winners, but the finalists, I will explain also what finalists mean. And then we'll support finalists between December up to June next year. And we hope that in August next year, we announce the overall winners in plural. And I'll explain what that actually also means. And then when the winners are announced, we hope to support them a bit up to December as well, when we'll have the winners showcase. And then for the finalists, we'll also have a big showcase event in Nairobi in February, which should be fantastic for you to meet everyone from across the world, funders and so on. So if you are lucky to get among those 22, then you'll be having a good time. So it's now time to explain what a finalist means and what a winner means. So we are looking for up to as many entries as we can get. Last time we ran a challenge in Kenya, we had 614 entries. And for all the entries that we get, we make sure that we support all the relevant entries. By supporting means we'll make sure that you have access to some non-financial rewards. For example, mentorship, capacity development, scaling, partnership, and so on, for you to be able to develop and advance your idea. But 22 teams will be what we call finalists. This will be the 22 best ideas. And it's not 22 best ideas across the world, because we know if we do that, we might not have ideas from countries like Colombia, which are not very innovative, or Ethiopia, which are not in East Africa. Ethiopia would be the least developed compared to Kenya and Uganda, or in Southeast Asia, Philippines is very far behind Indonesia. But we want to spread it properly so that it's properly balanced. I'll show you that spread as well in a minute. So we get 22 teams, and each of these 22 teams will get 50,000 euros each as a grant to work with in 6 months. And it is a requirement that if you are a finalist, you have to be able to show us how you will spend 50K euros in 6 months. You don't need to spend the whole of it, but you have to have a plan to spend the whole of it. And then we'll, of course, for everybody that is a relevant entry, quality entry. We might have 700 entries, but we might only have 100 quality entries. We'll give them access to capacity building, access to network of stakeholders, support, And then the 22 will participate in the summit in Nairobi. And then we'll give mentorship and other different forms of support and exposure to all the qualifying relevant entries. And then we'll have 6 teams winning 200,000 euros each. And shortly, I'll also tell you how this is distributed. Or maybe I should just do that so that I stop postponing too many things. So the 22 teams are spread in this way, that in South America, Brazil will have 3 finalists, Colombia will have 2, and Mexico will have 2. That gives us 7. In Southeast Asia, they'll all together have 3. That gives us 10. In Sub-Saharan Africa, each country will have 3. Senegal will have 3, Ethiopia will have 3, Kenya will have 3, Uganda will have 3. That gives us 12. That's how we get to the 22. But in terms of shortlisting, we hope to shortlist up to 200 if we have up to 200 quality entries. At the moment, we have 102 entries. Gladly, 71 are from East Africa. That makes me very happy because it means I'm doing my job. And we are hoping that, like we've seen in many other entries, we have about 65% surge in the last month. So we're hoping that we'll be having about 370 entries if the surge is true. Then we're hoping that from past experience, we normally have about 50% of the entries being quality entries. So we are hoping to shortlist about 200, hopefully. Great. Who is eligible? I mean, as long as you are within the countries that I have mentioned, or you're working in those countries, you are eligible. However, you can be eligible in more than one country, so you can submit the same idea in Kenya and Senegal as well as 2 separate entries, or in Kenya and Brazil as 2 separate entries. You can submit the same idea in 2 separate countries, or you can submit different ideas in the same country. So if you have 2 quality ideas or 2 quality projects that can be implemented in Kenya, you can submit them as 2 different entries as well. But you must own the rights to, or the intellectual property to implement the solution that you are suggesting. And I know I'm using the word idea, but we are really looking for solutions, not ideas. So you must have tested it or tried it or known that it can work, because we want to finance you to create impact, not finance you to test. Because there are enough people financing pilots, but for us, we want to finance impact. This is the specific eligibility in the specific countries in Latin America, not useful for you. But for us, really, you must be having an idea that will benefit caregivers in these 4 countries. You should be registered in different ways, either as a social enterprise or as an educational institution, a research institution, a private company, a CBO, an INGO, an LNGO, and so on. As long as you have a registration as an organization, you are eligible, but you should also be legally allowed to operate in any of these 4 countries if you're in Sub-Saharan Africa. And then you can submit an idea as more than one organization, which you're calling a consortium, but all the organizations in the consortium should also meet the eligibility criteria independently. The consortium does not have to be from the same country. So an organization from Kenya, another one from Uganda, and another one from Senegal can collaborate. You'll have a lead organization. So the entry will be classified as where the lead organization comes from, but that doesn't prevent it from being implemented in the other countries as well. How do we judge you? I will go deep into this in a few when I'll be taking you through the entry form. But essentially, we judge you based on 6 characteristics: potential to scale, innovation, parental and caregiving impact, how you're connected to the end users, what capacity do you have, and also whether you are safeguarding the ethics and rights of the people that you're working with, because that's very important across the world. This list is not exhaustive, but it's just to give you an idea of what we are seeing as people are entering. These are real examples of entries that we've got. People that are enabling parents to learn, live, and work across different services while they do their normal businesses. People that are creating networks of parents for them to get, for example, cheaper goods, for them to get, for example, cheaper places to place their children. People that are supporting pregnant parents or mothers to look after their mental health. People that are leveraging technology to help families in different ways. People that are enabling parents to learn and be creative and iterate and engage each other. People that are adapting public spaces. For example, in Uganda, we have people adapting public parks, people adapting ECD centers to support parents, I mean, by any means, please don't pick this as an idea. But for example, if Tiny Totos have a space that they have children doing one or two activities, can you incorporate parents into them as a means of giving them better mental health care and so on? We have seen people that are helping pregnant women to access different services more. Reused products, open markets, swap markets. For example, if you have things that could benefit a 6-year-old child and have a 6-year-old child, but you're pregnant and have things that could benefit a 1-month-old that I'm not using, why should you spend money? We can trade. So we have people that are providing solutions like that. We have people that are providing mental care spaces and exercise spaces. For example, if you are having, the Lake Basin are having convening centers for different things, can you convene for childcare or for parental care as well, so that parents can come there, or rather your members can also come there and get benefit from different mental care programs and so on. So there are all those that are examples of what we are seeing at the moment. You could have your own ideas about it. Forget about this slide. It's the most useless slide you're going to see today. But these are events that have already happened. The last one was last week, which you shouldn't be quite worried about. This is how to enter, but this is by no means the end of my presentation. But I would like to stop there. I'll give you this website much later. Or maybe I should leave it here for a minute so that people can go there and look. But I'll leave you with this. I'll give you this website in a minute to take us through a bit much of it. And I'll also share these contact details again. But I'll leave this slide here so that I can just pick any questions that are there. Then I'll take you through how are you making your entry? How can you make your entry in future? Washira, I'll stick with Washira. I don't know how to pronounce your first name. Will this PPT be shared? I don't know. I hadn't thought about sharing it, but if Mercy would like to share it, we can.
Yes, of course. Yes, of course. We'll share.
Then it will be shared.
And it's quite easy. It's just Karongari, the way it's spelled.
Okay, Karungari. Okay, great.
Yeah.
I don't like mispronouncing people's names, so I stick with what I can manage without biting my tongue. Okay, thank you very much, Karungari. Anybody with a question before we move forward? Before I go to the entry form? Let me open the list of attendees so that I can see whether there's any raised hand. I'll give it 2 seconds, then I'll assume that there's no questions. Or is there a question in the chat? No other question in the chat. Okay. Having seen no hands go up, I therefore take the assumption that there is no question, and there's no question in the chat. Great, so allow me to stop sharing my screen for a second, and then share a different screen. So one thing that I would encourage you to do is get started with your entry if you think you have a solution that can benefit parents in one way or the other. It does not have to be something out of the world. It has to just be something that is promoting and benefiting the well-being of parents in one way or the other. We have seen as simple ideas as people offering mobile health clinics to parents. or as complex ideas as people offering a security wristband for parents like that. That one, we saw that idea in Colombia. And I think there's one in Uganda as well called Safe Bango, I think, something of a related thing. So it could be something as simple as something as complicated, and no idea is going to not be sufficient. It is us who will determine how we are judging it, so do not worry about what you're submitting. But before you start your submission, it's important for you to know how the submission looks like. Again, this form can also be accessed on the website. I'll show you how, but I'll also share it with Mercy. She can just share it with you instead of having you go through the trouble of accessing it on the website. So I want to take you through this form. It will take about 30 minutes for me to take you through it, and then ask any questions if you have any. And when I'm going through this form, I like to drink tea. So I'll be drinking my tea throughout the whole presentation. And anyone who knows me knows that I take a lot of tea. So that's always fun. Now, so the Good Start Challenge entry form is divided into two. There's an entry form, which is like judging your eligibility. And then there is the form about your solution. The first part of the form is not rated, is not ranked, it is not graded. It's just for us to make sure that you are eligible, so that we don't waste your 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hours filling the form, yet we know you are not eligible. So there are questions here that will just guide us to know whether you are eligible, and then we will take you to the next parts of the form. First, this first part is very simple. It's the same old information telling everything that I've just told you now, what you are looking for, what types of solutions are eligible, and so on and so on. And then we take you through the questions that are just helping us judge whether you should enter. I mean, are you from one of these two regions? I'm hoping that by the fact that you're on this call, you are. If you are from Sub-Saharan Africa, I'll use that as an example a lot. I know some of you might not be, but if you are from Sub-Saharan Africa, then the form will automatically take you to the Sub-Saharan African section. So it will not show you the Latin American section, it will show you the Sub-Saharan African section. And then we'll ask you, which of these 4 countries are you going to implement your solution? Not where do you come from, where are you implementing your solution? You could be in Senegal, but implementing in Uganda. So you should tell us that. If you're implementing in more than one country, also tick more than one country. It will be useful. But if you're implementing in more than one country, sometimes it might be useful to enter it as 2 separate ideas. You never know. It might be very competitive in Ethiopia, but less competitive in Uganda. And then you find yourself succeeding in Uganda and not in Ethiopia. And then if you are from Sub-Saharan Africa, again, it will take you to this one. Are you the lead organization? This question is very relevant if you are entering as a consortium. If you are entering just as a single organization, tick yes, move forward. If you are entering as a consortium, I hope you are the lead organization, tick yes. If you are not, say no, and then the lead organization will be asked to enter the other details. There's this section here, which is very critical, but also very confusing. When we give you these funds, one thing that we want to make sure we are not doing is that we are diverting money into profits. All the funds that you get from this challenge, you want them to go towards impact. Therefore, none of this money should be distributed as dividends. None of them should be distributed as profits. None of them should be distributed as assets to the owners. If it's profit, it should always be plowed back into the business. For example, if you are helping selling things that are benefiting parents and you make money from it, you should tell us that the money that we'll make from this particular idea will bring it back into the business to continue helping more parents. If you are doing other things that are making you profit, we don't care much for that. But for this particular fund, then that money should be plowed back into the business as profit. Again, these other questions are the same, but for the other regions. And then come back to the question that is relevant to Sub-Saharan Africa. Are you legally registered in one of the countries? Hopefully the answer is yes, because if the answer is no, you will not be eligible. But an organization can be in any of these countries, can be in any of these African countries, but then legally allowed to operate in the countries that are listed. We know that organizations that are in any of the African countries, for example, are allowed to operate in Kenya. So are you from any of these countries and can you operate in Kenya? Then do you have an operational license in Kenya? And so on. Or Ethiopia or Uganda or Senegal and so on. Just using Kenya as an example. Then if you are entering as a consortium, question 6, you'd say yes or no. If the answer is yes, then you'll go into another round of questions that is a repeat of the other questions, but just confirming the same about the consortium members, whether the consortium members meet the eligibility criteria which you filled above, whether they agree to the profitability issues that I've just stated, not distributing dividends and so on. And then the last question is really whether you have the IP, the intellectual property to implement what you are looking for. This question is not, the last question really is not too relevant for Kenya, but I know it's relevant for Ethiopia and it's relevant for the Philippines as well. Can you receive funding in euros in your organization? Because we know that there are some organizations in some countries which are flagged if they get money in euros. The prize money will be paid in euros. So can you receive money in euros? If you can't receive money in euros, you should be very honest to tell us that we cannot receive money in euros. Therefore, the next bit of it will be asked, what currency should we use? Then we can be able to transact in your local currency using our local partners. Because if you say yes and you can't, when the money distribution time comes, you might miss out on your money because of a technicality that you failed. Once you click submit, if you are eligible, the form will calculate itself whether you are eligible based on how you answered. If you're eligible, then you'll be taken to the second part of the form, which is the entry form now. If you are not eligible, you'll be told thank you, and then you'll be shown some good things that you can share, but you'll not be taken to the second part. This second part is where you win your prizes, as they say it, or this is where you earn your stripes. So you should be very careful about how you answer every question in this second bit of it, because it is where you'll be graded. All the grading happens in this second bit. So I will keep my answers, or rather my guide, specific enough without making it prescriptive. So before you start, it's just useful for you to read those 4 documents: the entrant handbook, the terms and conditions, privacy policy, and the judging criteria. None of it in the terms and conditions will be separate from what I've told you. It will be what I've just told you, but in very many legal terms. The judging criteria, it's what I've taken you through, and I'm going to take you through it again in a few, but it will also just be specific in longer terms. The entrant handbook just tells you the same things that I've told you: who can enter, why can you enter, how can you enter, which I'm going to take you through, but it would be very nice for you to also just go through them to understand much better. Again, the first bit also just gives you everything that I've given you: who is eligible, why are you eligible, and so on. Not information I want to take you through once again. First bits, remember when you filled the first bit of the form, it was just to determine your eligibility, and then once you're eligible, it is discarded. So we need you to enter which region you are from, which country you are from, so that we can be able to distribute your entries accordingly. And then whether you're entering as a single organization or a consortium, so that again, your entry can be judged accordingly. The first bit of the entrant are the entrant details. The person filling this form needs to tell us what is the legal name of the entrant. Now, it has to be an organization. So the organization couldn't be Tiny Tortoise. I mean, there are some organizations that call themselves Tiny Tortoise, for example, but legally they are registered as Tiny Tortoise Limited or Tiny Tortoise CBO. Give us the legal registered name, because that's the name that will be put on the check for the final. If you become one of the 6 winners, that's the name that will be put there, and it can bounce if you gave us the wrong name. What type of entity are you? Easy peasy. This description is not quite important, just telling you what you define which organization as. And then lead entrant registration details. So we need you to provide some sort of registration details. Could be a registration number, could be a registration series, and so on. If you have a registration document, it's normally written at the top or at the bottom of that document so that we can just know that it exists. Then for East Africa, unfortunately, we have in the challenges that we've entered, we've had some organizations that did not exist try to enter the challenge. So for especially in East Africa, it doesn't make me feel nice being that I'm from East Africa. So we have had to ask for you to upload the registration document, if it's the registration certificate or the trading license or whatever it is. We've asked for you to upload it. And then the date of registration would also be on that document in many cases, so you enter it there. And then this next question really should be a yes, if you are authorized to use the IP. If you are not, you should be able to explain. In many cases, some things can be publicly useful. For example, you cannot be on the IP to education. It would be a publicly accessible resource, so you can explain that. And then contact details, easy peasy. Make sure that you are very clear about the details of the person entering. Where is your office, if you do have one? I saw some people are in their offices, so where's your office based? And then the main contact person in your organization that we should be talking to. This person has to be available to be talked to and has to be responsive. We've seen people miss out on prizes because they did not respond to an email, and that is normally very sad. When you are running the LX prize in South Africa, we had somebody, the finalists were getting 500,000 euros. We had the best idea miss out on the 500K because they did not respond to an email. That was very sad. So make sure that this person is somebody who can respond to an email. So provide their details, provide their title, provide their contact email, provide their phone number, starting with the country code. So it has to be a +254 or +256 or +251, followed by the number. And then if they have an alternative contact, we should also provide that. I mean, if you have two people in the organization, the main contact and the alternative contact, and they both don't respond to an email, then the organization really doesn't deserve to win. If you are entering as a consortium, partner details become important. If you're not entering as a consortium, you will not be asked for this. But you need to enter the partner details one by one. So you need to enter their legal name, you need to enter their address, you need to enter what type of organization they are, their main contact person. And then if you have another partner, you click yes. And then it will give you the space to enter another partner. You can enter up to 5 partners. So you can enter the challenge as 5 organizations, but not anymore. So it will give you that space 4 times for you to enter your partners. Again, this part A is not marked. It's just for us to get your details, for us to talk to you if we need. Now, from part B, you are marked. So before we go to part B, just want to pause and see whether there is any question. And then I'll proceed because part B starts to be a bit serious. So if there's any question up to there, I'll be opening the chat to see any raised hands or any typed question. If none, in 1 minute, I'll proceed. Priyanka, go on.
Hi, yeah, I just wanted to find out, so if we're applying as a consortium, does each organization need to do their own form, or is it just the lead organization that does the form on behalf of the consortium?
You disconnected on my side. Just refresh your question, sorry.
Sorry, I was saying if we're applying as a consortium, or it's two organizations, so we're partnering with another organization based in Uganda, for example, and they're the lead organization. Do we each need to fill out a form, or does only the lead partner based in Uganda need to fill out the form?
Only the lead partner needs to fill out the form, and then the rest of the organizations can just be there as the the partners. As you saw, there are parts which are asking the lead organization to fill the partner details. So only the lead organization will fill those details. You don't each need to fill a form.
Okay, great. Thank you.
All right. Any other question? I've stopped sharing so that I can see all of you on the screen, so that if somebody's raising their hand, I can see it easier. But I don't see any other raised hands, so I'll assume no other question. Great, let's proceed. Where's my phone? Here it is. All right, so about your entry. Now, as I said, this is where you will earn, you can see my form, I think. Can you? It jumped on my side.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can.
Okay, great. So this is where you earn your stripes. So just be very careful about how you answer these questions. Before this meeting, I was tempted to come with a sample of an entry, which has been made by an organization from Uganda. But I thought they might be your friends, and then you'll go and tell them that I shared their entry, and they'll feel bad about it. Or I might decide to say what is wrong about it or what's right about it, and then it will become a problem. So I decided to just come with this. But I'll try to take you through everything. About your entry, so as you can see at the top, this section is not scored. It's for us to see the summary of your section of your entry. And now it's when somebody decides to call me. So what's the name of your solution? This is the name of the solution you are offering, not the name of your organization. For example, let me see who is in the meeting. Because I have used, we have Lively Minds. So let's say, for example, the organization is called Lively Minds. That's not what you are looking for here. But Lively Minds might be for providing counseling services for parents with children who are epileptic or who are autistic. The name of your solution is counseling services for parents with children with, what did I say? I said epilepsy, who are epileptic. That's the solution that you're providing. Don't categorize any of my examples in any way. I just pick random things in my head. And then that's all you need to say. Don't go into details, be very specific. In fact, 150 words is a trap. Make sure that it's less than 50 words. And then explain your solution in one sentence. I mean, in no world is one sentence 150 words, but if you would like to, we've given you that leeway. But this should be very concise. Just tell us, what is your solution? Just say, we are providing counseling services for parents who have autistic children based in Kenya or based in Nairobi for a period of 6 months. As clear as possible. If I read it, I go past it, I should be very easy to understand. All the other stories you'd like to say come in part 3. Do not tell us about how your parents came from a poor background, or your mother is the county rep of Mombasa, or your father is working in a factory, so this is why this became important for you. No. In the first 2 sections, just be very brief. In the third section, explain your solution. When you're explaining your solution, utilize the 5 W's. What is the solution that you're offering? Counseling services for parents with children who are autistic. Great. Who is it but benefiting? You can see you've already said it. It's benefiting parents who have autistic children within the region of Nairobi or within the region of Western Kenya. Remember, your assessors might not be in Kenya, so you have to say what, for example, Lake Basin means. Lake Basin might be meaning the counties of Kericho, Nakuru, Kericho, Kisumu, Kakamega, Vihiga, Homa Bay, Migori, so on. Just make sure that you are mentioning that so that somebody who is not from there can be able to understand. Where is your solution being implemented? You will see you've already started explaining it in that particular answer. When, so you can say it is a solution that is happening over a period of 6 months or over a period of 2 years, blah, blah, blah. How? Is it online? Is it through conferences? Is it through guided tours? Is this through a handbook and so on? And then what impact do you want to create? You should also be able to tell us some results of your intended solution. Elaborate on it, elaborate on how you will develop it, elaborate on timeline of your development and so on. And then, what is the stage of your current development now? At the beginning of it, some of you might not have joined because you are 16, now we are 20. I said we are not looking to finance pilots. You should have tried your idea or already known that it can work one way or the other, either tested it or implemented it elsewhere, blah, 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 so that you know it can work. We want to finance you to scale, not to test out your idea. So what stage are you at? Don't tell us you are at the pilot stage. You will be disqualified immediately. Tell us if you are at a scaling stage, or you are at expansion stage, or you are at a full development stage, or you are at past the testing stage and so on. And then describe which stage you'll be at the end of the challenge. I told you the challenge will end next year in December. So between now and December, you need to imagine yourself if you were to win 200,000 euros, which is about what? Wait, that's a lot of money. Is it about 25 million Kenya shillings? No, it's about 30 million Kenya shillings. If you had to win 30 million shillings, what would 30 million shillings do for you? What impact will that money have, or rather, to what stage will it get you, and so on. So that is, be very brief about it. One other thing when you're answering most of these questions is, I encourage people to use quantitative information. So don't just tell us that at the end of the finalist stage, you will have reached many women in Western Kenya. What is many? Give us a number. We aim to reach 500 women. We aim to reach 20 women. We aim to reach 500 young parents. We aim to reach 600 adolescent parents and so on. Or we aim to reach 12 counties in this area and so on. Be a bit more specific like that. And then we come to the judging criteria. Most of the marks are awarded here. While the other sections are also scored, they are quite less compared to this, because here you are telling us about how impactful your solution is. The first section, or the first judging criteria, on the other side, this was not the first one, but this one becomes the very critical one for judges, is what impact will you have on parents and caregivers? We know you might be dealing about children. We know you might be into ECD, but which solution of yours do you have that is geared towards parental well-being? Describe who you intend to help with your solution and how it will address their needs. You need to first of all think about what are their needs. So if you are dealing with parents who have autistic children, what is their need in that particular space? What are they struggling with? And then how are you going to solve that need? So you can say, okay, our solution intends to benefit parents who have autistic children to solve their development challenges or their learning challenges in the first 6 years of their lives. This is very great. You told us how, what you will do and who you are targeting. How will you solve it? Is it by providing them a guided toolkit that will help them to do 1, 2, 3? As you can imagine, I have not thought about autistic children that much. I've just thought about it on the spot. But you tell us how that solution is going to be put together. And then what do you expect the impact will be? Again, use numbers, be specific with the information here. If the impact will be, we hope that 200 parents with autistic children in this area will have gotten this type of help that will help them get X, Y, Z. Be very specific in that way. And be able to be detailed and explain it in a way that the assessor can understand your situation. You know, if your assessor is from Brazil and you are in Kisumu, can the assessor step in the shoes of somebody in Kisumu? Explain it in a way that they can understand the contextual element of it so that your entry can be judged fairly. And then, of course, we'll ask you, how do you ultimately expect to benefit children? This question is not too heavy, but slightly heavy. We want to see if, for example, you've helped the parent in that way, how does that translate down to the children? Will the children be less challenged mentally, or will they be less depressed, or will they have better development outcomes? Will they get more chances to play and so on? How does that ultimately benefit children? So all these two questions alone will give you the rating of 20 marks. So we'll mark your answers and say, okay, out of 20, we think this solution is rated at 15, or it's rated at 10, or it's rated at 1. Hopefully nobody's rated at 1. Nobody will be rated at 0. I'm quite sure about that, because at least, even if you are doing nothing, at least you've written something. So writing something should be able to get you a rating of some sort, but you could be rated at 1 if your solution is not that impactful. And then the level of innovation. Many people see this word innovation and think you have to be giving us a new M-Pesa, you have to be giving us a new AI model or something like that. No, it's just two things. How is your solution new, or how is it different? That's all innovation is about. You can innovate by giving us something totally new, or giving us a new way of doing normal things. It just has to be original, it has to be creative, it has to be novel. So it could be a new way of distributing things. It should be a fresh way of thinking about something. It should be could be a fresh funding mechanism. It could be a fresh way to connect people and so on. And in this section, there's only one question. How is your solution innovative in improving the well-being of parents? Does it? You just have to tell us, how is it different? What is different about your solution? If, for example, again, I'll go back to Tiny Turtles as an example. If Tiny Turtles have a space where children come to do something, and you are bringing the parents to come and do something different as their children do something separate, then that's very creative, because you're making sure that the parents will be there. Therefore, they can be able to take part in this particular model. So you are trying to balance their time. It's very creative, it's very different. It's not something that it happens every time. And therefore, you're encouraging parents to bring their children themselves and not to send the nanny, for example, okay? So that's how different that one would be. If you have a child play area and then you want to encourage parents to come and learn a skill while their children are playing, that's very different, that's very creative, because you are helping them use the child's playtime to learn a skill. And so on and so forth. So you can phrase what you're doing in an innovative way in different ways, but just make sure that you're showing us how different you are from the normal Tom, Dick, and Harris of this world. This answer alone has a 20% weight. So put some very clear, critical thought into this, because I think from the last challenge that we had, we got to a point where this question became the tiebreak, because then everything else, everyone was being very good, and we have like 20 finalists and you only needed 10. And this question became the tiebreak. So think about it quite critical, so that somebody can ask themselves, how different are you? And remember, there's nothing new under the sun. So what you're doing is probably being done by somebody else somewhere. And if the two of you come to the final and you need to drop out one, this becomes the tiebreak. Then we'll ask, how different, which of these solutions is giving us a more creative way to reach people? And that becomes quite important. Great. Third criteria, which weighs the most, is the potential to scale. As I said at the beginning, and I'll repeat, I almost said I'll repeat again, that would have been bad English. So I'll repeat. We are not trying to finance ideas. We are trying to finance solutions that are ready to scale. So we don't want to pilot things, hence why this question is quite important, because if then we can be able to understand how ready you are to scale. Oh, what did I do? I think I just clicked on, yeah, I think I clicked on stop sharing instead of clicking on next. Okay, sorry about that. We are back. Yeah. Great. So we are not looking to finance your idea. We are looking to finance your project or your solution. So what potential do you have to scale now? Because we did not want you to wander through the bush looking at what do these people mean when they say scale and so on. We provided you 3 ways that you can scale here. You can scale upwards, which means you increase reach, you increase capacity, you hire more people, you are able to work through policy, national, regional, or otherwise. I think the Lake Basin group might be very good at this, trying to scale up. Or you can scale out. That means open new branches, reach new groups of people, reach some untapped locations, and so on. Organizations that are privately registered will be very good at this. Or you can scale deep. That means you create more impact within the same group of people or the same space you're working with. Organizations like CBOs, which are not allowed to operate outside the areas of registration, will be very good at this. Do not choose all of them when you're explaining yourself. Choose one and then delve deep into each. Choose how you want to scale, and then delve deep into each. And this section has a couple of questions. One, explain how your solution has the potential to scale over time. This question is a tricky question, but it's a very simple question. So it's exactly what I've been asking you. How do you want to scale? Do you want to scale out, deep, or up? So you have to start by telling us that we would like to scale out by opening new branches in new locations. That's the first statement. It's already helped us know how you want to scale. Therefore, the rest of your explanation is now helping us to understand what you meant. Use numbers, use quantitative information, use facts. If you are scaling out, tell us, we hope that in 1 year, we'll be able to open 5 new branches in 2 new counties in Kenya. In 2 years, we hope that we'll be able to open 10 branches in 20 counties. And in 20 years, we hope to be operating in all the 47 countries with at least 200 branches. Or we are reaching 400 people now. We hope that in a year, we'll be able to reach 600. In 2 years, we'll be able to reach 800. In 3 years, in 6 months, 300. In 2 years, we'll be able to reach 5,000 and so on. Or if you're scaling deep, you will say that, currently we are reaching parents, teen parents only in Mukuru, Kwangenjenga in Nairobi. We hope that we'll reach more parents in more informal settlements in Nairobi, like Mathare, Kibera, and which are the informal Githurai, and be able to take more parents back to school and be able to provide daycare spaces for all the parents in those spaces. These are just examples I'm giving you. So you have to choose your way of scaling and then explain it. Use numbers, use quantitative information, use facts, use evidence. And then this question is also a trick question. What is your financial and operational model? It's a question about scaling, but it's also a question about accountability. So your financial model, you can tell us that, for example, in our organization, we do spend 40%. It doesn't have to be accurate, just estimations. We do spend 40% on human resource. We do spend 30% on outreach. We do spend 10% on research and development. We do spend 10% on monitoring, evaluation, and learning, and so on and so on and so on. Then the operational model, you need to tell us, how do you operate? Do you operate by having gatherings every 6 months? Do you operate by having clinics every 2 weeks? Do you operate? How do you operate? Like, how do you reach out to people? How do you talk to people? How do you gather feedback? How do you measure impact? And so on and so on. That's your operational and financial model. Again, but do not tell us we spend 500,000 shillings on this. No, tell us about the percentage scale of what you're looking at. In this particular question, we are not looking for numbers, we are looking at scalability, which scalability is normally about percentages and ratios. And then if you anticipate any changes to your situation, as you consider scaling your solution, definitely there have to be changes. If you are scaling deep, you probably need to hire more people and so on. If you're scaling out, you probably need new office space and so on and so on. If you are scaling up, you probably need more advocacy funding and so on and so on. So you need to tell us what more support or capacity or financial or operational capacity will you need as you scale out. These 3 questions together account for 25% of the weighting. So be very keen about how you answer them, but be very quantitative and very intentional about the data that you're sharing of the solution. And then the fourth criteria is implementation capacity. This is a question about your team and your expertise. As you can imagine, I have not told you to tell us about your team anywhere else. So do not tell us about your team anywhere else. This is where we want to know about your team. Who is in your team? What are the resources? Tafadhali, don't tell us, I have Wafula in my team who is very good at. No. We are not interested in personalities. We are interested in the skills and the kind of competencies within your team. So be able to look at it wholesomely. Do you have somebody who can do community outreach, community mobilization, stakeholder engagement, communication, journey mapping, capacity development, monitoring and evaluation, etc., etc. What skill do you need? And you have people who can do that. Once you've thought about that separately, then you can come and answer the very simple questions, 3 very simple questions in this section. How is your team equipped to advance the proposed solution? I've already given you the answer there. Our team has a financial expert with 2 financial experts that can do financial modeling. It has 2 communication experts that can communicate impact. It has 2 research and development experts that can help us know where the problems are. It has a monitoring and evaluation person who can help us measure impact and document impact. It has blah, 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 blah. So tell us about those competencies on your team. And then describe your plan for developing a solution at the finalist stage. Of course, it's almost the same, but now very specific to the challenge at hand. So you'll tell us that our financial modeling person will help us to map out the financial needs of community X. Our capacity development person will help us train 1 to 3 people from community X and so on. Our stakeholder engagement person will help us to reach out to more people, government and so on, and so on and so on and so forth. Just make sure that you are giving us those steps in that particular manner. And then this one, I can't help you, but you have to do it. This is a budget of how you will use the funds if you're selected as a finalist. This basically, considering everything you've told us about your capacity and so on, how can you use 50K in 6 months? That's basically the question that you're answering here. Provide us a small budget showing us how you can use 50K 6 months. Period. That's it. And then section 5, criteria 5 is how connected are you to the user? The wearer of the shoe knows where it hurts, right? So if you don't know, or if you are not connected to the people you are trying to serve, you don't know what's their problem. So how connected are you to the local people that you're trying to serve? And you'll see it has one very simple question. Explain how your team understands the needs and experiences of your target users in relation to your solution. So it could be that the people you hire come from that community, or you are based in that community, or you have been implementing in this community for the longest period, or you live in this community, and so on and so forth. How well are you equipped to know the challenges and the problems that people within that community do face? We want to hear about that. And this carries 15 marks, so we want you to be as down to earth as possible. Down to earth is a very misused phrase, but we will encourage you to misuse it here because we want you to explain to us how much down to earth you are for our understanding. Finally, we will be looking at ethics and governance. This is mostly around data protection. This is mostly about the rights of the people that you're dealing with. Remember, you're dealing with parents. That means you're dealing with children. The rights and privileges of children need to be protected. You don't need to expose them. You don't need to expose their data, as well as their parents. So tell us how you're safeguarding different things that are ethical to them. Data, the rights and responsibilities, the rewards, fairness, inclusion. I don't know. I don't know whether there's any need to talk about things like people's orientations and so on, but such things you need to tell us how you are safeguarding them. And that's basically what this question is asking about. And then we provided a very small section for you to boast a little bit. So if you've done some things that you think you want to show off about, like you have videos of you doing some work, or podcast that you are on or photos that you think will influence our decision. You can upload them, 2 of them. Part C does not concern anybody if you become a winner. Part C concerns you if you don't become one of the 22. But as I said, if you have a quality entry, we still want to be able to support you. So Part C concerns you if you are not part of the 22, but you have a quality entry. We want you to answer it also honestly. Which town are you based in? Question 2, very important. What non-financial capacity development area would you found most helpful? Whichever you select, we will support you in it if you don't become one of the 22. And there are quite a lot of them here. And you can select more than one as one. So select the ones that you are interested in, but not select too many. I mean, you become a jack of all trades, and then you don't know how to help you. So select just enough. And then a bit of due diligence. Has your team been exclusively created to participate in the Good Start Challenge? I hope not, because then it means you guys don't understand each other. Then approximately how many people are currently in your team to develop this solution? So how many, not how many people does your organization have, but how many people are dedicated to this challenge? The organization might have 70 people, but only 5 are dedicated to this challenge. And then how long has your team been working together? Hopefully at least more than 6 months, because then you understand each other quite well. And then approximately how long has your team been working on the entry for this particular challenge? So it will be useful for us to get that understanding. Sorry, let me just tell somebody I'm in a meeting. Sorry, I am in a meeting. Can I call you back? Thanks. Wait, sorry about that. He's been calling repeatedly so many times. And then how long has your team been working on the solution? I mean, it won't be more than 2 months, or it could be, because you could actually, it should be more than 2 months, because you should have tested your entry. We are assuming that you've just not come together and thought, oh, okay, let's implement this, and then you have not tried it, and then you've just submitted it after 2 weeks of thinking through it. A bit of an inclusivity question. What percentage of your team is women? The team that is entering the challenge. I will tell you whether there is a catch here, but just make sure that your team is as inclusive as possible. And then how are women distributed across seniority levels? Again, hopefully your organization is as inclusive as possible. Has your team received funding for this solution? This question, this is not a trick question. Answer it honestly, no problem. How much money has been invested in the solution so far, just in that particular solution? Let us know. If you own the IP, as I said, hopefully you do. And then again, if you own the IP, hopefully you do. The declaration section is a part of every submission that anybody has to make anywhere. That is the challenge. Before we have 17 minutes remaining, which I specifically set aside to take you through navigating our website. But if anyone has a question, I would be happy to answer it. Then we can move forward. Does any hand raised? Does anyone have a question about submitting an entry? Giving it 40 seconds as I sip my tea. Unmute and ask your question, please.
Yeah, mine is basically on the last part.
Yeah.
Asking whether the solution has received funding in the past. Probably you received funding for a solution, but just on a pilot phase. You've done the pilot phase and you've exhausted the funding. if you indicate that you receive that, will that in any way impact on the outcome you'd get from the challenge, assuming that they'll assume that you still have funding to run that solution?
Even if you are the richest organization and you have millions of dollars available to you, it does not affect whether you will receive funding for that. In fact, it reinforces the fact that we know that now you can use funding to do something. So it does not negatively impact you if you received funding. Even if you received funding last week, it does not impact your eligibility. You can state and say that, yes, you received funding at the pilot phase, and that's okay. But none of the questions in this additional information section will affect whether you become a winner or not. I hope that is clear. Any other questions? Before I jump onto the website. Okay.
Maybe, thank you very much.
All right, go on.
On the section which you mentioned about for those that will not be among the 22,
yes,
in the areas that they can support. I know you left it open, but do you have a maximum of sections that one can fill that is reasonable enough? We are hoping that we are not among the 22, though.
You are hoping that you are not among the 22. That's a weird hope to have.
We are hoping that we are not left out among the 22, that we be part of the 22.
Oh, you are hoping you are part of the 22. Okay. I was about to say, I've never seen somebody submitting an entry then wishing to not win. But now I understand you. This would be a personal recommendation. We do not have a limit on how many you can enter. You can enter as many as you want. But then it just makes you look like a jack of all trades, which is not too useful, right? So I would personally recommend that you choose up to 5 that you can have. And I would personally recommend that you always choose one-to-one mentorship as one of the areas that you want to get support should you not go through. Why? Because the people that will be offering the mentorship or coaching are also funders. So if you are able to convince a funder on the side that your idea is good enough, even if it did not go through the challenge, chances are that you will still get some funding for that idea. We've seen that. I've seen that happen quite a lot, and I would recommend that you do that. I would recommend that you pick 5 that are very good. But there are some things that are always also put there so that people can also throw themselves in trouble. For example, if you have a requirement you need a requirement for privacy, for example, like you need support in privacy, but you've already told us just before that you will safeguard the privacy of the data of the people that you are dealing with. So which is which? So I think about the question about the support area about privacy is one to avoid, and the one about mentorship or coaching is one to definitely go for, and then choose any other 4. But this is a very personal recommendation, not it's not professional recommendation at all.
Thank you very much.
But again, if a policeman tells you, I recommend that you don't steal, if you steal, you might go to jail. It might make sense not to steal because the policeman might know something that you don't. Anyway, I did not say that. So I'm hoping that I'm sharing the website, am I?
Yes, we can see the website.
Okay, great. Now, I make a habit of helping people know how to navigate this website because it does have a lot of information, and it is also the point where you will submit your entry. So if you do not know how to work around it, you are really starting on the defense. So I make a point of just taking people through it so that they can be as equipped as possible on how to handle it. Now, when you land on this website, there are 3 main areas, or 4, but I will take you through the 3. You can choose a different language if you want, but I would recommend that you just use auto translators if necessary. There's a section about the challenge, there's a section about regional strands, and there's a section about news and events. So I'll start, move backwards. News and events is what you people on your website will be calling the blog. Quite useful, but not too useful. If you'd like to watch, like see what people are saying in other places, where we have been, where entries are coming from, the events you have been to, and so on, you can see our blog posts there. A few of them are written by me. I won't tell you which ones, but you can, I'm sure if you read through them, you'll guess which one. And then you can also see some of our partners. For example, today we were highlighting Cohere. Cohere is an organization that is working in Kenya and Uganda, and Ethiopia, that is offering us support. I might probably be highlighting GSC at some point, GSF, sorry, at some point. Good Start Challenge is GSC, and then GSF is, okay. That's super confusing. But yes, we do highlight them at some point. You can imagine probably this is about East Africa. And then, so we do that. So if you want to know who we are working with, you might find it there. Then if you want to know the events that are upcoming, you would like to take part in them, they are also there. If you're in Brazil, if you are across the world, the Bloom Networking is a global event. In Mexico and Colombia, we'll be updating one for East Africa as well, and so on. So we will add them here. And then past events. Of course, you might have missed an event, but you want to watch the recording to understand what happened. Introducing the Good Start Challenge for the webinar. If you have an hour, I would encourage you to watch this. The webinar launch, not too important, but you can also watch it. The introducing part, you might see a lot of what I'm saying, the same things I'm telling you. The launch too, very important, but they'll still be taking you through the entry form that I've taken you through. But now it will come with an Indian voice. So if you'd like to hear it with an Indian voice, by all means, knock yourself out. And there are many other events that we've attended that will be here. The Good Start Challenge in context for Sub-Saharan Africa. This one happened on Wednesday last week. You can look at it. This one was postponed, but we recorded the webinar for them just in case. So you can also listen to that. So that's in news and events. That's what you'll find there. Nothing super fancy. In the regional strands, you might want to understand something about the region you are submitting in. Let me just use Sub-Saharan Africa because I know most of you are from Sub-Saharan Africa. So if you are from Sub-Saharan Africa and you click on the Sub-Saharan African strand, you'll see the entrant handbook customized for Sub-Saharan Africa. What we are looking for in Sub-Saharan Africa with examples, some of the people that we are looking to affect, why we have focused on the groups that we are focusing on, why this challenge will be important to you, what you could win. The timeline is common everywhere. What is eligible in the region that you are working in, and the registration specific requirements in that particular region, operations, consortiums, and so on. What we mean by intellectual property in the context of that region, currency requirements, I talked about them, and so on. What you need to look out for more as you look at that safeguarding issue in your region, what is most important, and so on. The judging criteria, to just explain more what I have already explained, but if you'd like to read it, you can also find it in the context of the regional strand you're dealing with. So that one, you can always find it if you go to the regional strand. What is more important for me though is about the challenge part. It has 4 parts, which are all very useful. The first part is just about the challenge. So it will tell you what is the challenge, how much money can be won, why is it important, which teams are we looking for, what types of solutions are we looking for, examples of solutions. I showed you this on the presentation at the start, but you can also just see it here. Then key challenge information, very, very important. Who should enter? Quite critical. Why should you enter? Very critical. How can I win? When you go on to how can I win, you'll find the information that I shared with you at the start. How many finalists will come from each country? I already shared this information, but just in case you are doubting me and you want to go and verify, you can still find it here. How can you win? How will the 6 winners be distributed? You can see that. What's the judging criteria as well? You can see it there as well. So that's about the challenge. Then why we are focusing on parental well-being as well. This is very important because it could help you know how to frame your questions, how to phrase your questions in a good way. Remember, this is at the end of it all, this is a competition. So you have to also be able to frame your questions in the right way. So you'll find different reasons why you're focusing on parents and blogs that are focusing on parents and so on. If you'd like to know who is financing this, because somebody asked me, where are you getting 2.6 million euros from? You can find all the partners here. Leer Foundation, which I have consulted for before, is the main financier or the main funder of this. But then other funders include FEMSA Foundation in Brazil, Fundación María Cecilia Soto Vidigal in Mexico, the Lego Foundation financing East Africa. Then we have supporting partners, the Dialogue, Ashoka, and Exchange. Ashoka is in Philippines, the Dialogue is in South America, Exchange is in Senegal, EMBA is in Senegal, Epic Africa is across Africa, Cohere is in East Africa, Concre is in West Africa. We'll probably be adding a few others as they come on board. If an organization wants to be part of this, they can just also write to us and then we will include them there. I am going to initiate conversations to include some more here. That's about the partners. Then comes the most important tab, how to enter. How do you enter the Good Start Challenge? First of all, this is gibberish that you'll see everywhere. We will really want you to make sure that you read all these documents. The entry deadline is also clearly stated there. How to apply? So first of all, you need to create what we call a submittable account. I will show you, if you click on this link, it will take you to a website called Submittable. Let me see if I click on it. Does it open Submittable here? I'm sure I'm in Submittable, right? Can you see Submittable?
Yes, you can see that.
Okay. So if you go to Submittable, you can scroll down. Of course, for me, I'm already signed in, so it can't show me create account, but you can scroll down and you'll see a create account button at the bottom. But I'm sure if you read through the messages, even for me who is signed in, you'll find a create account somewhere. So if I click on home, they are giving me every information as somebody who is already signed in, because as you can see at the top of my website, I'm seeing the submission list and the draft submissions. I'm already signed into the backend to see who is submitting one. But so first of all, you need to create a submittable account. If you just Google submittable, the problem of having logged into something already, it keeps taking you back there. Then you click on sign in. I'm sure it's going to tell me I'm already signed in. But if I wasn't already signed in, then it would bring me either sign in or sign up. Then I would click on sign up. So you can see, okay, thank God it's brought me here. So if you click on sign in, then it will bring you an option to sign up. Then you can read all these and sign up after that for a submittable account. But I think this is taking me to the back end. It's not doing what I wanted to do. Yep, it's taking me to the back. And is it? Oh yeah, it's taking me to the back end, so I can't really show you what I wanted, because if I click on challenge works, it starts showing me how many entries we have. So it's not what I wanted you to see, but I'll still show you how it works in a minute. Now, once you've created a submittable account, this other gibberish, we're still encouraging you to read the terms and conditions, privacy policy, so on and so on. And then we come to the entry form. So questions about your team, questions about your entry, and so on are here. And then you'll find this message here. Below is the downloadable version of your submission form to assist you in drafting your entry. I encourage you to download a form and then start developing your answers offline. As you save them on our document, then you can just copy paste them onto Submittable. Why? Because we know technology can be crazy, and you might have started to submit your entry, then something happens and you lose everything. Save your answer somewhere so that in case something happens, the website crashes or your laptop crashes or whatever happens, you can retrieve the answer somewhere else. Because some of the answers can be long, and typing them twice or 3 times is not nice. So you can download it in any of these 5 languages. You can download the entrant handbook. You can join our webinar if you want. You can watch a recorded webinar if you want. Very important. When you are ready to enter, you can see there are buttons to enter now everywhere. There's one there, there's one here, but there's also one at the end there. So if you click on enter now, it will bring you here. Even if you have not created a submittable account, it will still bring you here. Once you click on submit, then it will start giving you the eligibility form. It will take you straight to the Good Start Challenge form in English, and then start giving you the eligibility form. It's loading the eligibility form now. So you can see it's still loading. So you can see it's taking you to the eligibility form. It will ask you the questions. As I told you, if you mark Sub-Saharan Africa, the next of the other questions become about Sub-Saharan Africa. It doesn't give you all those Latin American things. If you mark Latin America, it will give you all the questions about Latin America. Now you can see there's no Kenya, there's no Ethiopia, there's nothing. It's only about Latin America. If you mark, so whatever you mark, it will give you the answers about that particular area. Once you reach down here and click next, then it will take you to the entry form, to your entry form if you are eligible. You can see down here, it is telling you if the results of this question indicate that you are eligible, you'll be directed to the entry form. So it will, the platform will calculate by itself, and then it will take you where you are supposed to be taken. So I don't want to start filling this form out because it will mess up our results, but clearly you can see, you can be able to do that there. I'll still share the entry form as a downloadable document with Mercy. She can forward to all of you. I'm hoping that I don't know whether it's within the bounds of the organization, Mercy, but if it's possible and you'd like me to send out an email to everybody and they consent, you can share their email addresses. If not, we can still share the information with you. I'll just be happy to follow up and support wherever possible and whenever possible. We are over time by 3 minutes, so I want to stop there and welcome any questions. Okay, I didn't even say there aren't questions, but Carlson was already having his hand up. Carlson, go.
I was reading your lips, Logedi, so okay. I was ready with that.
Yeah.
The question is, assuming you are submitting more than one entry,
yes.
Do you do different submittable accounts or you just use one?
You can just use one. Once you're finished submitting your entry, you can submit another one. But if there are 2 people in your organization that want to work on different entries, because as you have seen, an entry can be quite tasking. So being the same person typing them in could be a lot of work. So you might want to have 2 people doing the same thing. So you can create 2 sometimes, but one would still work. All right. Thank you very much. Mercy, may I hand it over back to you? if there's any question for me, I would be happy to answer them.
All right, thank you, Logedi. I don't have any question on my end. I don't know if we don't have any question, we can close up the meeting. I'll be sharing with you the recording plus any documents that Logedi will be sharing with us. And also, I think you must have his email address. If not, I will share that with you for any follow-up with him. I hope that's okay with everyone.
Yeah, thank you.
Good for me.
Okay, lovely. Okay, have a good day, evening for everyone today. Bye-bye.